Okay, I'm going to quickly test. Oh no, in fairness, this is entirely my fault because I provided you with my slides about 2 minutes ago. So sorry. I'll say a couple of things just while the slides are coming up. So there we go. So I work at the Natural History Museum. I've been there for about 5.5 years. For most of that time, it's been working with our scientists to encourage them to talk about their research to the public. For the past 3.5 months, it's been specifically as Anthropocene Engagement Manager. So it's a new post, it's very different, and it's very much tackling how should we talk about this thing, the Anthropocene, which is a massive mess. But okay, so let's go. Okay, so how does the Natural History Museum talk about climate change? So predominantly through very key things, our permanent gallery spaces, online, and by online I mean our website as well as social media, temporary exhibitions, which tend to last between sort of 6 and 9 months, and events where people come into the museum, we engage with them, we interact with them, and we engage them with our science and collections. So I'm going to quickly whip you through some of those key things. A lot of that I think we're doing really well. A lot of that I think there's room for a lot of improvement. We're a very old institution, so we have a lot to learn. So here are, apologies if you can't read that well, but there's a picture of one of the panels in one of our galleries. And you can see it's 2 shots, but they're the same panel. So this is something that I think there's nothing inaccurate about it, but it's very dated, and I think you can feel that straight away. So the end of the world is nigh. That feels very kind of fatalistic, and I'm not sure what we want people to take away from that. On the left, it starts talking about the Industrial Revolution and talks about chlorofluorocarbons, and CFCs feels to me quite dated now. I think the Montreal Protocol was like the late 80s or something. We're now in 2019. And it's not that it's inaccurate, it's just that it feels dated. And I've circled those things there in yellow because changing climate, question mark, feels very dated in itself. And again, it's just the language there. As the temperature increases, there will be an increase. I mean, we're already in that place. Like, that future is right now, and that's not reflected in some of our gallery spaces. In our defense, I think some of these panels are from maybe the 90s or so, and if anyone works in a bigger old museum, you know how long it takes to change some of our permanent spaces, but that doesn't help. Another example here is we have a climate wall in a dedicated space in the museum. Again, there's nothing inaccurate about this information, and we always want to try and draw attention to our collections and what our collections can tell us about the changing climate and what our science is, what our scientists are doing. But there are a couple of things that, again, feel a little bit dated. The polar bear, if I see another image of a polar bear, we know that that doesn't really work anymore. And other things like there's mention on one of the panels, I can't remember where it is, but there's something about we say increasing temperatures have an impact on species and their habitats. That's true. 33 of 37 UK dragonfly species have moved north since 1995. Also true. Species moving north doesn't really mean a lot to people. What do you mean move north? Is that a problem that they've flown further north? What does it really represent? It doesn't tell us that much. It doesn't emotionally resonate with anyone. And there's reference somewhere about computer modeling as well. Museum scientists study fossils of tiny ocean creatures. Their data helps us understand, their data helps other scientists develop computer models. Computer modeling, again, doesn't resonate with people. They don't really know what that means and how that helps us predict the future. But all of that is true. Our collections do these amazing things to be able to look back into the past and understand how our climate has shifted. It's very powerful. Our collections are incredible. That doesn't come across over here. And again, there's no call to action. There's no possible solutions for the future. There's nothing to make people come away from that and go, I can make a difference. I care about this. So it's fine, but it's not doing enough. Here's an example of an exhibition that we put on in 2015, Coral Reef Cities of the Sea. Here's where I think we started to do a little bit better. So this was 4 years ago. The whole premise of the exhibition was to highlight how beautiful the coral reef ecosystems are, how interconnected they are, hence the cities of the sea metaphor, that they're threatened. They're okay, I need to speak quicker, and what we can do for the future. Broadly, this exhibition did pretty well. We know from audience research that people were emotionally moved by it. They felt inspired by coral reefs. The one takeaway thing that we had was the message wasn't strong enough about what we should be doing to protect them and what action we should be taking. I would say we've gotten better with events, and this is not surprising because you can actually engage with people face to face and have discussions and dialogue with people at events. So very quickly, this is from a Lates at the end of last year. That massive inflatable Earth is not normally there. It's from a Bristol-based artist called Luke Jerram. That Earth is 7 meters in diameter, so it would pretty much fill most of this room. The idea was that people would come in, they'd get a sense of the fragility of our planet. Along with that, we had a lot of environmental earth scientists talking about cutting-edge science and how we're addressing the climate crisis. We also had a couple of theatre makers deliver an on-stage performance which was supposed to be very participatory. So they were great at acting out different scenarios, like how do you talk about the climate crisis and feel comfortable about it? And it proactively encouraged the audience to share their voice, which I thought was really powerful, and we haven't done much of that as a museum. So that was really, really great for us to get active audience participation. My provocation, sorry, am I allowed to say the provocation? Okay, it's just to briefly say, this is a really cheesy slide that I just found from the internet, which is supposed to be people having discussions. So I'm really keen for our museum to we're still very much seen as a place where we educate school kids, and it's a fun day out for the family, which it is, and both of those things are really important. But given the Anthropocene, given the climate crisis, I think museums should be those places where anyone feels that they can come together, debate, discuss, and talk about these challenging and frightening and complex issues. So I want to know how our museum, all of our museums, can be that place. Okay.